All right, what we have here is the print station for our contact sheets and for our final prints. And what we're looking at is our workstation, which we will use to print from. And I'll show you the workflow for that in just a few minutes. And we have our printer. This is an Epson Stylus Pro 3880. It's pretty easy to use. I will walk you through that. And then we also have two different sizes of paper that we'll be using. For large contact sheets, we'll be using the 13 by 19 sheet. And for our 5 by 7 prints, we'll be using the 8.5 by 11. We'll print a few things that are a little bit larger on the 13 by 19, but not this semester. So the way that we do this is you'll come in. The first thing that you want to do is take a look and see if the printer is on. If it's not on, all we want to do is turn it on by pushing this button. You'll see it begin to do its boot up process. And I am going to make you watch all of this. Just feeding the ink. And once it's booted up, you'll see the this screen right here, say ready in the top left corner. And then it'll give you a series of your ink levels. So once the ink levels start to get low, I will make those changes. If it does get low and it says it does need to change ink, let me know and I will change that for you. All right, where we start, and again, if this is not already set up, this is what you would want to do. If this is already set up, then you don't have to do this, but we'll open this. I'm just gonna lift this up a couple. This right here will determine the width of paper that we're working with. And the way that you do this is just press this little trigger and you can slide this back and forward depending on the size of paper that you're using. You will see, I don't know if you can see these, yeah. You will see on the back of this different paper sizes, and there are little grooves that this can slide into, so you can just get it to where you need it and it should lock in place. Next thing you need to do on this printer, if it's not done already, just push this little front flap and then you can pull this out a little bit. And this just is your tray that once your paper is put in and it's fed out after the print, it doesn't fall out on the floor. And this does come out fairly far depending on the size paper that we're using. So you can make those adjustments. And then when you're finished with everything, you just push this all the way in, close that up, push this all the way down, close this down. And then to power off the printer, if there's no one printing after you, you can just go in, press that button. It'll say powering off. It'll start running its cycle, and then it shuts down automatically. Okay? So next, what we're going to look at is how do we actually use it. All right, what we want to look at today is the printing process for all of our stuff in photography. I want to walk you through the process for how we set our images up. This is in our workflow. This is obviously at the end, after our things have been chosen, cataloged, edited, kind of whatever it is that we're wanting to do. We're at that printing process. Now, a couple things that we will look at in class that will precede this will be things like soft proofing, which we will talk about in class. This is, once all of that is finished, how do we print? How do we use the equipment? You know, where's the paper? What paper do we use? And different stuff like that. So What I've got is a couple of images, and this process that I'm going to show you is the same process no matter which type of print we're doing. If we're printing a contact sheet, if we're printing final images, and for this example I'll just be using the final image contact sheet where we print 2 5x7s that I gave you at the beginning of the semester. And these are just 2 of the images from one of our shoots this semester. Real quick edit, just to kind of walk you through this process. So once your images have been chosen and you're ready to save a file to print, this is the process. We want to go to the print module. We want to locate the contact sheet that you downloaded for your prints. Now we've got a few that we've been working with, and then we've got one that we have created that we're going to be using to print our 5x7 images. This is the 5x7 contact sheet. Now what this is going to do is you will see that we have a 5" by 7" cell size. The cool thing about this is that you can, if your images have not been cropped specifically to a 5x7 aspect ratio, you can go in and move these around just a little bit within your frame just to kind of get them like you want them. So I've arranged these the way that I want. I don't have to do anything to my layout. It's already, my image settings are already checked. So we've got our zoom to fill. This was all saved in the preset. Rotate to fit, that's why this image rotated. Your margins, everything has been set up already, and we have saved this template. Okay, we want to make sure that our guides are not showing. We don't want to see those. We want to make sure that up under page, none of this information is checked. We don't want to print our identity plate. We don't want to print a watermark. We will talk about that later. We don't want any of our page options or our photo info to be printed. Now, there's a few things that we do differently when we're getting ready to print versus when we're getting ready just to kind of upload a file for review. If we are going to upload a file for review, a lot of times it's easier just to print to a JPEG file. JPEGs are smaller, they're compressed, they're much smaller file size, they're easy to upload. If we were using something for social media or anything like that, printing to a JPEG file is, or saving it to as a JPEG file is something that we want to do. Now, if we are choosing to print, even if we're not going to be printing from Lightroom, it's going to be very important the process that we work through. So this is what I want you to follow. Up under the print job section, we want to print to the printer. We want to make sure that draft mode printing is not checked. We want our print resolution to be 300 ppi, pixels per inch. You want to make sure print sharpening is set to high or standard. Media type, the paper that we're using is kind of a luster finish. It's kind of in between matte and glossy. I would leave it at glossy. We're not going to get into 16-bit output yet, so just make sure that is not checked. And in this color management section, if we were printing directly from Lightroom, then we would load in a profile. Since we are printing from a different workstation, we want to make sure that we set this profile to manage by printer. Okay, and then we're just going to save this the same way that we usually would save a PDF file. We're just going to click printer. If we're working off of a Mac, you click right down here, and you can do a couple things. You can either click where it says PDF and it's going to automatically take you to save as PDF, or if you click on this drop down and click save as PDF, it's going to do the exact same thing. So we're just going to click save as PDF. We're going to do test print -1, and then I'll just save this to my hard drive, wherever that is. Let's see, 2700. Let's just say that this is, I don't know, week 3. I've given it a name. I'm going to click Save. You'll see up here in the top left-hand corner that Lightroom is preparing that print job. And when that's finished, I should be able to go to my hard drive, take a look inside of the week 3, and that's going to be my test print PDF. So this is the file that I will be printing from. And in the next section, I'll walk you through the printing process on the workstation. All right, we're now over here at the workstation computer that we will use to print from. And what I want to do first is plug my hard drive in. The USB ports are on the back of the computer, so plug in your hard drive. Go locate your hard drive, and we want to go find our file. So I'm going to go into my 2705 folder. I think I saved it in week 3. Yep, this is my test print PDF file. It's fairly easy. All we want to do is just double click that file, and it's going to open up in a program called Preview. Now, all we want to do is go to File, Print, and our print module is going to pop up. Okay? Now, we want to make sure that the printer is selected. It should be selected by default. It is the Epson Stylus Pro 3880. This is going to tell you how many copies you want. We just want 1 copy. Our paper size. This is where we will choose the size paper that we want to work with. There are really only 2 main profiles that we work from, depending on if we're printing on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and we'll just choose the US letter 8.5 by 11, or if we're printing from the Super A3 13 by 19, we would just choose the Super A3 13 by 19. So for this one, we've got US letter. We are going to be printing portrait, because that's the way that we have the paper in, which you'll see in the video in just a second. And you don't want to just come right down here and hit print, because when we exported this out of Lightroom or saved it as a PDF, up under the color adjustments, we chose to make sure that this was assigned by the printer. And this is where you double check this. So on a Mac, up under Preview, we're going to go to Printer Settings. Okay, and we want to make sure that the media type, and all of this should be set by default. You shouldn't have to change anything. But the one thing that you're double checking is that this says Ultra Premium Photo Paper Luster. This is the paper that we always print to. No matter if it's 13 by 19 paper or 8.5 by 11, it's the same paper. So all of this stuff has been set up. You just want to make sure that the premium luster paper is selected, and then you would press print. And in the next section, I'll show you the printing process for that. All right, quickly. Printer's set up. Again, it's on. The paper is in the printer. Okay, and all we do is you'll see this right here. All we want to make sure that we do is with this paper, the luster side is out, and if you flip it over, you'll see that there's a watermark on the back. You want that to go to the back of the printer. Okay, we're going to slide that behind those tabs. Okay, now your clip does not have to be all the way to it, but you just kind of want it close. Okay, because the printer, once it grabs it, it will center it and align it. So once your paper's in here like this, it's ready to print. You'll see we have print right here. I'm going to click print. It starts reading it. Printer's getting set up. It's going to grab the paper, pull it in. It's lining it up, making sure everything's good. And then you should start to hear it print. And as it's printing, what it's going to do is come out right down here. You don't ever want to reach in there and pull it. And if you want to fast forward through this video any, that's totally fine, but I am going to record the whole process for this. You're starting to see it coming out. It's right up there at the top. Here we go. All right, and then once it's finished, you're gonna let it sit there for a second. You don't want to touch any of the ink. Okay, so we need to really bring it somewhere. I usually just kind of bring it over to one of the tables or the light table back here. And we're just gonna lay this out and let it dry. If you're ever wondering how to handle this, this is usually hanging up back here on the back wall. It's just the Ultra Premium Photo Paper Luster. It's the handling instructions and different things like that, different printer settings. So I would take a look at that. If anybody wants to take a picture of this or scan it into your phone, you can do so. But what we would do is print these and just leave these sitting where it is. They do recommend that you let it dry for a little while, but we'll just leave them alone. And then what we would do is when it's time to go in and mount these, we would go in and do that process. And that's kind of what we'll get into at a later time. So hopefully this helps. Once you're finished, you'll just come back over to the printer. If somebody's printing after you, you can just leave this on. But if they're not, you would just close the printer up. Push this down. Be easy with this. This is kind of weird sometimes. Close it down and then turn the printer off. And that's your process. Don't forget to close down your preview file and eject your hard drive. And that's really the process. So let me know if you have any questions and look forward to seeing some of your prints this semester. Thanks.